Hi folks, I'm Leanne. Welcome to Print and Polish. This is where I talk about a book that I read and do my nails at the same time. I'm just learning how to do nail art, so they might turn out, they might not. Let's get started. Agatha by Kathleen Tynan. I'm just going to go ahead and say that it's not only one of the shortest books I've read this year, but also one of the oldest modern books I've read this year too. It was published in 1978 and it's only 176 pages long. I'm just going to mention real quick that it was made into a movie, and that had Dustin Hoffman and Vanessa Redgrave in it, though I haven't watched it. The blurb on the back. It's a short blurb, but it really did do its job for me. It got my attention. It made me want to read it. This book might be short, but it did do two things for me. One, it was one of those books where, as I got into it, it was so good and so intriguing that the voice in my head started speaking in accents, which I always find to be one of the best things that happens. It happens a little less often than I would like, so I really get a kick out of it when it does. The second thing is that it piqued my interest an insane amount because it's actually a fictionalized account of the real-life disappearance of author Agatha Christie. So what happened in real life? Well, on December 3rd, 1926, Agatha disappeared and wasn't found until almost 2 weeks later, on December 14th. She'd driven off in her car and just vanished. There was a massive manhunt for her. She lived in Britain, but it became worldwide news, with stories even in the New York Times. Her car was found pretty quickly by a natural spring, but it was crystal clear that there had not been an accident. There was no sign of foul play, nothing like that. They didn't think she drowned or even committed suicide. A couple of reigning theories for her disappearance are, one, it was a publicity stunt. She had just published a new book, so to a lot of people that made a lot of sense. And two, that her husband Archie had murdered her or had her murdered. I could see this being the topmost theory just based on the fact that he had had a mistress at the time, so there likely would have been some juicy gossip surrounding that. Anyway, they found her 11 days later at a hotel. It appeared that she'd had a significant amount of memory loss. Some assumed it was brought on by a car crash, even though there was no evidence of that. Others thought it might be kind of like a fugue state, which is like a dissociative disorder. People who have this often end up leaving their homes, can't remember either just little pieces or all of their past. It's usually triggered by trauma of some kind. They can still live day to day. They still have memory of how to do all those tasks. They just don't remember themselves anymore. So what happened in the book is definitely a fictionalized account of Agatha's life at the time of her disappearance and what she did during her time at the hotel. It brings even more mystery and intrigue to it, if that's even possible. I would describe it in a little bit more detail, but it is a mystery suspense book, so what fun would it be if I were to throw in a bunch of spoilers? It describes Agatha as being distraught over her husband's affair and his want of a divorce. She goes to the hotel to orchestrate a very elaborate, but failed suicide plot that implicates her husband's mistress. She even takes on the last name of the mistress during this time frame. While she's at the hotel, she takes part in a lot of the daily activities. She goes to nice dinners, dances, goes shopping, visits the spa, makes friends with other guests, all that fun stuff. She makes friends with another guest and even a reporter hiding his identity in order to find her and write the story of the decade. When it comes to her suicide plot, though, it strikes me as something she would have absolutely planned to have a part in one of her novels, which is exactly what the author is going for. There's a few little bait and switches in the methodology of certain things, an amount of detail in accomplishing certain things, even the way Agatha hides certain pieces of paper and locks up her valise. In a lot of books, there's often a little bit of what I call fluff or pieces of the book that have nothing at all to do with the story. It doesn't have anything to do at all with furthering the plot or anything like that, even though it still makes the story great. In Agatha, I can't say that it was non-existent, but it did seem to be pretty limited, not very much fluff at all. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. For me, by the end of Agatha, the pieces seemed to fit together really, really well and didn't leave too much extra wording in there. When I chose this book, I had no idea that it was loosely based on fact, but once I found out, not only did it grab my interest, but it held it. The writing was good. It moved at a decent pace. It's that great accent thing in my head while I was reading. I have to give it 4 books out of 5. Pretty much the only reason it lost a book was that the bulk of my interest was in the fact that the disappearance really happened. The writing was great. The suspense was there. There was an amazing attention to little details of Agatha's plot. It certainly filled the fictionalized holes of the real-life disappearance. So, yeah, 4 out of 5. I could see myself rereading it, though, so maybe it's not such a bad thing. So that's it for today, folks. Thank you so much for joining in. Links to the book and nail products are below. If you think of a book you'd like me to read or a nail design you want me to try, please let me know in the comments. Thanks again and have a great day. I'll see you later.